What have you seen that works best to make sure that the setting team does well at a high level consistently that the marketing can impact?
Yeah, I think the easiest thing, or like the shortest answer I can give.
Some people might say, oh, group interviews are unethical. I don't care what you think. The second thing is setters, to be honest, bro, have almost no loyalty. So we can break down how to build a high performing setting team from a marketing side, because people don't realize that plays a huge role in how setters feel. Welcome back to the Two Bearded Info Guys podcast. Today's episode is going to be a very special one because this is probably one of the most common things that offer owners and sales managers struggle with when it comes to scaling proper sales teams and scaling their offers, which is how do you build a setter team that actually performs? And full transparency, this is something I struggled with as a sales manager for a while. And it took me a really long time to finally understand and crack the code behind building a high performance setting team. Now, before we jump into how we do that, because there's a couple of different things that go into it from the marketing side and the sales side, I want to talk about why you need a high performing setting team. Now, we've managed a lot of offers in the past and we've tested a lot of different variations of those offers.
Yeah.
We've done straight to closer booking, we've done opt-ins, we've done a lot of different things. And the one thing that we've seen over and over again, regardless of the funnel type, is that having a setter, a good setter, will always outperform having no setters.
100%. I think it's one of the most important things.
I think just having a good setting team can make you so much more money without changing anything else, without spending more on ads, getting more closers, pre-call material. And if you have a good setting team, you will make a stupid higher amount of money. But the problem is, how do you actually build a strong performing setting team?
I think it's probably one of the hardest things.
100%. And again, like I said, this is something I struggled with for a very long time. I'm not ashamed to admit that.
Yeah.
It is not easy. Managing a closer team is incredibly easier, but a good setting team is very difficult for a couple of reasons. The first reason, setters typically don't make a lot of money.
Yeah.
Like, let's just address, the elephant in the room. Most setters don't make a lot of money. Skill set issue, yes, but it's also because of the offers sometimes. You have to work a lot to make any kind of meaningful income for a lot of the offers, right? So you can have setters that are dialing 8 to 10 hours a day just to make 4K a month. So how do you keep those guys motivated? How do you keep them going? The second thing is setters, to be honest, bro, have almost no loyalty. Like closers will last with you a long time, especially if they're making money. I swear to God, but I've interviewed setters where they've jumped, I think, between 10 different offers in the last 3 months.
Yeah.
So loyalty with setters is almost non-existent. So how do you build a good setter culture? And then the third thing that I've seen when it comes to high performing setting teams is how do you make sure that they perform at a high level but consistently? Because again, with setters, typically the demographic is that they're younger, right? A lot of them don't have any sales experience. This is their first entry into the sales world. So you're dealing with not only people that are usually inexperienced, but they don't have any standards when it comes to working for an offer or company. And you need to make sure that they keep performing at a high level consistently. But it's like, how do you balance all of those things, right? So we can break down how to build a high performing setting team from a marketing side, because people don't realize that plays a huge role in how setters feel. And then we can touch on the sales side.
Yeah.
But we can kick it off with the marketing side. So in your experience, right, what have you seen that works best to make sure that the setting team does well at a high level consistently that the marketing can impact?
Yeah, I think the easiest thing, or like the shortest answer I can give, is quality over quantity by far.
What do you mean?
Quality of the leads versus the quantity of the leads by far. As you mentioned, setters don't make a lot of money. Only a few of the top setters make the most. And it's a very hard job because you're on the front lines. You're filtering all the calls for the closers.
100%.
So when I say quality over quantity, some offer owners might think, I want to optimize cost per lead. I just want to maximize the number of leads. I don't care anything. I just want to get leads. That's a big issue. Just because you get a very cheap cost per lead doesn't mean you get a very cheap cost per qualified booking. So I think people mess up. But here's why it affects setters. If setters have hundreds of leads that they have to go through and everyone's financially unqualified, let's say they speak to, optimistically, let's say they're doing 3 hours of talk time a day, 3-4 hours of talk time.
Which is a lot.
And every single person is broke. By the end of the day, how do you think they're going to feel?
They're going to kill themselves.
They may even book maybe 1 or 2 appointments And even then, you got a salesman saying, why are you only booking 1 or 2 appointments? So now they're stressed, they're not booking appointments,
Mhm.
but they're speaking to 3 hours worth of talk time a day, which is insane if you hit that. So they're like, everyone's unqualified. I'm booking everyone that's broke. The closers aren't closing. I'm making no money. Why am I even here?
Mhm.
So when I say quality, it's much better for them to have fewer leads where they can just follow up consistently, that are more qualified, that have financial intent.
Mhm.
So one, technically you're saying it's less work for them, but it's more quality work. Rather than doing 4 hours to get 1 booked appointment that's qualified, it's maybe an hour to get 2 booked appointments or 3 booked appointments that are qualified. Their morale goes up because it's like, hey, everyone I connect with has money,
Yeah.
unless they've lied on the form, but that's a small percentage. And then they're also like, hey, you know, these guys are good leads. There's opportunity.
Mhm.
What kills setters is they feel like there's no hope. Every day they're just speaking to leads that have no money. They're like, okay, where's the light at the end of the tunnel?
Exactly.
So on the marketing side, what you need to do is you need to take that feedback and then readjust how you're targeting. So if you're running ads, for example, making sure that Pixel only fires if it's a qualified lead.
Mhm.
Making sure that there's conditional logic in your form.
What do you consider a qualified lead?
So you can I guess you can look at it from like marketing qualified and sales qualified. Marketing qualified is their intent and do they have money? Very
Mhm.
simple. So in the form you're asking, okay, is this something that's important to them? Is it a priority? Do they understand it? And are they willing to invest?
Mhm.
Just because someone has the money doesn't mean that they're willing. You need ableness and willingness. You need
Mm.
both. Ableness is just logistically, do they have the money?
Mhm.
Willingness, is it worth their time?
Yeah.
Is it worth them to actually do it? So you need both. So if I can get those two answered, are you able and are you willing? That's a qualified lead.
Mm.
And then from that moment, when a setter speaks to them, one, they're going to say, hey, these leads have intent.
Yeah.
But secondly, they have money. So it boosts their morale. The alternative is you just have a form, name, email, phone number. You'll get the cheapest leads. You'll get $2 cost per lead, $5 cost per leads. But the setters are going to no longer want to be fast with them. They're going to feel like,
Yeah.
here's another broke lead. Hey, what got you interested? Oh, I don't know. I just saw an ad and I just wanted to see what it was, blah, blah, blah.
This gives me flashbacks, bro. So many
Or
different
they'll
offers.
say, and then you ask them, hey, you know, if we can help you, like, how much do you have to invest? Or it's like, oh, I'm unemployed. So it's like, okay, like, we just wasted 5-10 minutes with each other and you've got no money. So like now setters are going to rush calls. They're going to hate speaking to people because they're like, okay, here's another broke person. What's even worse is, let's say you don't target country specifically and you just globally advertise. Or even worse, with organic, you have less control because
Yeah.
organic, it's up to your organic following.
Mhm.
But like, let's say everyone comes from a certain country or a certain number of countries that we know in the info space where everyone just broke and they're just speaking to people with these heavy accents
Yeah.
that have no money, that can barely spend like $1 on a coffee. Like, what can you do
Yeah.
at that point? And so I think marketing plays a very big role in terms of setter morale and just making sure that we're able to get them leads that are, like I said, are able, so they logistically have the money, but they're also willing because they believe that whatever it is that they opted in for can actually benefit them in whatever outcome it is that they want.
So you're saying that you, as a media buyer, you're not too focused on cost per lead, as long as
I never look at cost per lead.
really.
Cost per lead is the last thing I look at. Cost per lead is probably the thing I look at the very end.
Mhm.
If everything else is good, like all the metrics are good, but there's some sort of bottleneck at the beginning where I just need to tweak. Because here's the thing, you can get $1 cost per lead,
Yeah.
but if they have to go through 1,000 leads, for example, I'm just exaggerating for the sake of the example here, they have to go through 1,000 leads to get a qualified call, while you're actually spending $1,000 to get a qualified call.
Mm.
Because you have to go through 1,000 leads. So you've spent 1,000 to get one booked call. Again, that's an exaggeration.
Yeah,
Probably
yeah.
doesn't happen. But I'd
It
much
does.
rather
I've seen that happen.
spend maybe $30.
Per lead.
Again, that's also an exaggeration. $30, $50 for a lead. But for every lead I get,
Mhm.
for every 2 leads I get, I book a call. So now my cost per booked call is $100.
Mhm.
I'd much rather have that. Cost per qualified call. So yes, it's a higher cost per lead, but the cost per call is a lot cheaper.
Mhm.
I always look at cost per acquisition first, and then I work backwards.
bottlenecks, yeah.
Exactly.
What else are you doing from a marketing side? Because I know we implement some stuff in the thank you page and some stuff in the resources and the SMS reminders to help the setters do an easier job. So do you want to touch on some of the stuff that we've done?
In terms of the resources we give,
Not necessarily the resources, more so stuff that you're telling the leads on the thank you page, you're
Yeah.
telling them through the SMS reminders so that
Yeah.
the setters have an easier
so
job.
I think the biggest impact by far is in the thank you video, just underneath the video, clearly saying that, hey, a member of the team, and you can frame the setter in whatever way, but just basically saying like, hey, our setter is going to reach out to you. Check your phone. And then with iPhones, there's a new feature where oftentimes messages will go to spam. So we'll show them like, hey, make sure that you toggle this setting off so that their messages can actually reach you.
So you tell the lead to turn off the spam filter so that the setters.
Correct.
Okay.
On the thank you, because that's the first thing they see above the fold. When I say above the fold, that's everything before they scroll. So over there, I say, hey, a setter's going to call you, or however we frame them. And then I say like, hey, make sure you turn your spam filter off so you can receive their text messages.
Okay. Anything else that you're doing from the marketing side?
Those are the main things. Now, there are other things as well, but I think that kind of sets the foundation for now how setters actually interact. And I think you can kind of touch more on the sales side and how you actually coach and manage the setters to make sure morale is high, because we know setter morale yo-yos like crazy. One day 100%. They love you, one day they hate it. 100%. And then secondly, how you keep them on the team long enough.
Yeah. So from the sales side, there's a couple, I guess, subtopics that we're going to go over. And I would break it down into the following topics. First is the onboarding, like interview/onboarding process. Second is the actual on-job culture, like once they're part of the offer. And then the third thing, which is something that's very heavily overlooked, is, and something that you touched on already, is like that light at the end of the tunnel, right? I'll kind of walk you through all three, just so that everyone understands exactly what we do to build a high-performance setting team. So the first step is the interview/onboarding, right? The way we interview and we hire people, and this is the thing, because I've tried so many different ways to interview and hire, and I've researched so many and I've consulted with so many people. This has been by far the most effective way, is I get as many qualified candidates as possible, and my job is to disqualify as many of them as fast as possible, right? So for example, if I'm hosting a group interview of setters, right? Let's say I have 15 people on the interview. Some people might say, oh, group interviews are unethical. I don't care what you think, right? That's a retarded take. It is by far the most effective way. I've tried everything. And I know a lot of people that have also tried everything. There's a reason why the top people in the space run it like this. So let's say, again, we have 15 people on the interview. The questions that I'm asking, right, it's not necessarily just to get to know the setters more. It's also to disqualify them. So for example, one of the questions I like to ask is, in the next 3 months, what are you looking to achieve? What are your goals? If they're very adamant on becoming a closer, that's a big red flag for me. I'm not saying I'm disqualifying them right away, but that's something I want to look out for, because chances are they're going to churn. The other thing is, how much, like, what's the baseline that you want to be making per month, and what's the ideal goal? If a setter says, oh, I need to be making at least 10K per month, like, you're not going to be making that kind of money for the most part, right? Again, disqualify. So just asking these questions in the interview process to just figure out who is most likely going to churn, right? Because I'm just basically, with every hire, my goal is to hedge against lack of performance and churn. So I'm just trying to optimize for that, right? So let's say, for example, I find a couple people, let's say out of the 15, maybe I have 3. They're like, these are solid candidates who I want to have more conversations with. I would do a one-on-one with everyone. Now, before the one-on-one, I send them everything that we have on the offer, on the ICP, the person that owns the offer, the script, the framework, call recordings, everything. I'm like, review the stuff, right? We're going to have a one-on-one, we're going to do a role play. The reason why I send this stuff, and I send them everything, not just the script, is for 2 reasons. First, we can have a much more, relevant one-on-one. This is personalized to the offer, so I can actually test their skill set. I'm not looking for them to be perfect. Obviously, that's unrealistic. I just want to see if they have like some sort of foundation at least. That's the first thing. The second thing, and this is the more important reason why, is I want to see if you actually put in effort, right? Because again, I'm trying to disqualify you. Did you actually review the offer? Did you go through the call recordings? Because I'm going to ask some questions about this, right? If I feel like, or you tell me, and some people have admitted that they haven't gone through it, I'm not continuing the conversation. We're just like, that's it. You have the interview process. Now, let's say someone went through everything, they studied it, they passed the interview, and we want to bring them on. We extend them an offer, and then this is where a lot of offer owners and managers mess up, because what they do is they just onboard someone. They're like, here's a script. You have to do, let's say, $200 a day. Good luck. But then give it a week or two, the setter quits, right? They churn. What I've seen work best is set extremely clear expectations. If I'm onboarding you, I am treating you like a retard, like you don't know anything. And I'm gonna set the most clear and blunt expectations as humanly possible. I'm gonna make it very clear what the KPIs are, what time the coaching calls are, what you should be doing, how you should be reacting to certain things, how proactive you should be. I'm gonna make everything crystal clear so that there's no room for any confusion. Because that way, if you don't perform, it's not because we didn't give you that guidance, right? It's because you didn't put in the effort. Now, obviously, you don't have to fully hit KPIs right away, right? Maybe you're ramping up the first week, which we also make it very clear to them, like the ramp up KPIs. But it's just because I want you and I want us to be on the same page about everything. So that's everything with regards to the interview / onboarding to take that first step towards building a high performing setting team. Now, the second thing that is just as important is the culture within the setting team. So what do I mean by that? The thing that a lot of people don't realize when it comes to building sales teams, especially if you've never managed big sales teams, because if you're managing a sales team with like one setter, one closer, two setters, there's not much that can go wrong.
Yeah.
It's such a small team with such little variables, like chance of something going wrong and ruining everything is not that high. When you're managing big teams, we're talking like 20 to 30 setters, 10 plus closers. That's where there's a lot more care that needs to be taken with every single step. Because if you mess up one thing, everything can fall apart, right? The way I like to describe bad hires is like a cancer. If I hire the wrong person who's not a culture fit, which is the part that we're talking about now, it's like I've introduced a cancer to the host organism.
Yeah, because it's going to spread.
Exactly. Because now what's going to happen is, before I hired this person, everyone was hitting 4 sets a day. Now we hire someone who only books in 2 sets a day, right? Doesn't hit his KPIs whatsoever.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that. He's still on the team. He's not getting punished for it. What's everyone else going to think now? They can get away with 2 sets a day. So within a week, we went from booking in 4 sets a day to 2 sets a day.
Yeah.
So I've hired an extra person, but we're producing half of what we produced before, right?
And that's because everyone feels like they can get away with it now.
Exactly. And that is one of the biggest mistakes that a lot of offer owners make, or sales managers, is that they don't understand that culture isn't the thing that it's not the thing that you're striving for. It's like, what is the bottom person like? That is your culture, right? What is that person able to get away with? That is the culture everyone's going to be on. And I've seen this happen so many times, and it's so frustrating having a bad hire, because you will have a top performer. I'll give you an example. I used to have a setter. This was very early on, and this is one of the mistakes that I learned from. I had a top setter. The guy was an absolute dog. Like, genuinely, he was so hungry. He would put up like 8 to 10 sets a day. Insane, right? I bring in someone, and I bring in another setter as well. I hired 2 guys around the same period of time. Both of them bad culture fits. Again, this was very early on. I didn't know any of this stuff. Next thing you know, this guy who's putting up 8 to 10 sets a day is now putting up 2 sets a day. Why? Because he's like, why am I putting in all this work?
Yeah, because the others aren't pulling their weight.
Exactly. Sure, he's making less money, but he was still making okay to get by.
Yeah.
Right? So that's something you want to look out for. Now, when it comes to actual culture, what you want to look for is a couple different things. First of all, is this person that you're hiring someone who takes accountability, full ownership? Or are they someone that just, comes up with excuses for everything? That's a huge one. The second thing is this person proactive? Meaning, do you have to wait for your coaching call with them to review their calls? Or do they just text you randomly like, hey, I had this conversation, can you give me feedback? Right? The third thing, I think this is probably the most important thing when looking to hire someone who's a culture fit, is why are they doing any of this work? Just like when you're qualifying a lead, right? Why are you interested?
You need to sell them on the offer.
Exactly. But more importantly, I need to know, why are you even in this game? What are you in it for? Right? Do you have a strong why? Because I've seen over and over again, the setters that have a strong why, whether they don't have a lot of money saved up, or they need to take care of their family, or whatever the case is, they will outwork everyone. Those are the people that I want on my team, regardless of skill set, because I can teach you the skill. But that why
100%
is irreplaceable. It's invaluable. So I think that's one of the most valuable things that you can look for when hiring.
A question for you, because I've seen people go back and forth on this, and oftentimes offer owners will prefer someone that has maybe a bit more experience as a setter versus maybe how hungry they are. What do you prefer, and like how do you go about the balance in both?
So I wouldn't say there's a specific answer. I think it's dependent on the context. Like for example, if we are scaling very aggressively, we have a lot of leads, maybe we don't have the time and we can't afford hiring someone with less experience because we need someone to perform ASAP, right? So in those situations, sure, look for someone who has a bit more experience, who's not as hungry because it's a more reliable hire short term. Now, if we're talking in the context of building a team long term, right? We already forecasted the next month. We know how much we're gonna increase the ad spend, etc. And we want to slowly hire so we can ramp up and build up to that set target that we forecasted. That's when I would say hire someone with slightly less experience who's a lot hungrier. Because again, that loyalty,
Yeah.
when you give someone their first opportunity and you teach them everything from the ground up, I promise you, you will not find that loyalty anywhere else.
Yeah, we've had setters with us through the
It
trenches.
does not matter what happens. Even if the offer completely goes to zero, they would not even look for another offer
Yeah.
because they want to stay with us, because we gave them that opportunity. I still have people that I hired as setters, I think maybe a year ago at this point. I hired him, he was 17, coached him from the ground up. He eventually became a setter manager and then actually transitioned to closing, which he's doing now full time. He still texts me almost every other day, just asking me how I'm doing. Do I want help with anything? Do I need more setters that he can refer to me? Like he just wants to always give me value. And he's made it very clear to me. The second you want me on your team, I will drop everything that I'm doing and I will come work with you. I do not care about the earning potential, the offer. I just want to stay with you. That brand loyalty, you cannot get that anywhere.
Yeah.
And when it comes to setters, anyone that's managed setters, you know this for a fact. They will dip at any instant.
Yeah.
So yes, hiring someone with a better skill set makes more sense short term, but long term, if you want that good culture, you want that brand loyalty, hire someone who's hungry who doesn't have as much skill. And you can just train them up.
Solid.
Yeah, I think that's it with regards to culture, interviewing, onboarding.
I think there's one thing I want you to share that was a pretty funny story that you told me. And I think it comes back to hiring setters because I think that's the foundation. If you can hire the right talent, you keep them, you retain them, you train them, they perform. It's just a cause and effect. Can you share the example of you hosting that group interview and you just having someone jump off the call or basically telling someone to leave the call within the first 2 minutes of them being on that interview?
So for the people that are watching this that don't know me, I'm very direct with the way I communicate. Right? And I don't do it in a way with, like I have a high ego. I do it just because I don't want to waste anyone's time.
Yeah.
Right? I'm very upfront. I'm very straightforward. I'm very professional with the way I communicate with people. And we were hosting this group interview, and we sent everyone the invites the day before, and we also sent them expectations, like we already talked about, right? Very clear expectations. Join from a laptop. Make sure that you are, have a good background, good mic, decent camera if you have one. Cameras on always, and just look professional. Everyone joins a few minutes before, which is what we communicate with them, and then one guy joined, or he was in the waiting room, I think like 5 minutes in. Now, typically, I don't let them in at that point, but for some reason, I was like, I don't know, I have a good feeling about this guy. I think he had an Arab name as well, Muslim name. I was like, let me just, give him a chance. Maybe something happened or came up, whatever the case is. So I let this guy in, and camera's off. I'm like, yo, switch on your camera. We already let you know that, you need to have your cameras on. The guy's walking outside in a wife beater outside his house with the camera. He's like holding his phone like this. He's looking down at me like this. And he's walking around. Mic is off. You can just hear everything. Sorry, mic is on. You can hear all the background noise, the cars, the honking, all that stuff. And he's like, yo, what's going on, bro? Literally, like, first introduction. I just kicked him out of the interview. I'm like, yeah, we cannot have people like this on the team. I just let everyone know, you cannot be like this. If you're
And
like
then everyone
this,
in that group interview was like, oh, okay, this is
everyone
serious.
locked in. Like, you can see the posture, the change. Like, people were sitting comfortably. The second that happened, like,
Yeah.
like they're locked in now.
So if you're a setter, just take care.
Don't be retarded.
Straight up. But I think you have to set that standard because at the end of the day, a good sales team and a good setter team is a sports team. You have to treat them like a sports team.
Exactly.
They have to show up to practice on time. They have to be disciplined. They need like every character trait of a top performing sports team. And you're just having someone slacking. Like you said, it's a cancer and it affects everyone else.
Exactly. Even though sales is an individual job, it's still a team sport.
Yeah.
Right? If one person is not performing and he's dragging the team down, Sure, he's not making as much money,
Yeah.
but now everyone on the team isn't making as much. The client isn't making as much. You're not making as much. So you need to have that culture in place. You need to have those standards. Otherwise, you will just never grow.
100%. 100%.
But I think it's a good place for us to wrap up with regards to how to build a good setter team that performs at a high level. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoy this episode. As always, if you have questions, leave them in the comment section below or just DM us on Instagram. And make sure you subscribe, like the video, and we'll see you guys next time.